Hello everyone, welcome back to YK Reviews. With The Flash coming out last week, not doing great in the box office, decided to do a tier ranking for all the DC movies, starting from Man of Steel all the way to the Flash movie, with the Joker and the Matt Reeves' Batman included, because what the hell, let's include them. So let's get straight into it here. So as you can see here, the screen shows all the movies and the tier ranking going from A++, like the best movie in DC, to all the way down to F, which, spoiler alert, Joss Whedon's Justice League is going to be on there. So we see all the tier rankings, all the list here, and we've got the list of all the movies here. Now, I will put timestamps of everything in the description down below for all the movies, so if there's any movie in particular you want to hear my thoughts about or you want to see where they're ranking, the timestamps will be in the description down below. And if you do love these tier ranking videos, I've done all the phases of the MCU along with all the Spider-Man movies, so I'll post videos and links of somewhere around here if you want to go check out those ones. But let's just get started here. First of all, with a movie that's not included in like the DCEU timeline is the Matt Reeves Batman, and I'll be completely honest, I wasn't too hyped about this. Like the build up to the movie, I was getting more and more excited, but with Robert Pattinson, I honestly just didn't think he would become a great Batman based on like his appearances in like previous movies. So I wasn't a huge fan of Robert Pattinson, but after watching this movie, he completely blew me out the water. Like this Batman movie is my second favorite Batman movie of all time. My top three is basically The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger as the Joker. Nothing can touch that. Then it goes Robert Pattinson's Batman, and then the one that introduced me to it all was Batman Returns with Michael Keaton, which I'll talk about more of that in the Flash movie one. But those are my top three Batman movies. So with Robert Pattinson's Batman, I just love the more grounded aspect. He wasn't much of Bruce Wayne, but rather more of like Batman, and like the fight sequences that they've done, the introduction of Penguin, the Riddler as the villain. I loved everything about this movie. It was so fun, so brilliantly written. The setting with Gotham just was incredible. So I absolutely just loved this movie, and I'm so pumped to see what they're going to do with Batman 2. Also the spin-off with the Penguin series, I'm super excited about. So when it comes to Batman, Matt Reeves' Batman that is, this one for me is going as an A++, one of the best Batman movies and one of the better DC movies. Now, of course, this is just my opinion. For you guys that are watching, these could just be completely like muddled and different to like what you're putting in. So these are just my opinions on these movies here. So when it comes to like Matt Reeves Batman, it's definitely going as an A++ for me here. Now for the next one here is the Birds of Prey movie. Again, I'll be completely honest, I've not watched this movie at all until I had to do the tier list ranking video here. Now I'll be completely honest, I was a bit weary when it comes to this movie, bit hesitant, bit skeptical with this movie. So I never watched it up until like recently here, and this really did surprise me with how good it was. I loved the violence in this movie. I loved Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I really enjoyed Ewan McGregor as the Black Mask. I thought it was really fun, and honestly this movie just was a really nice surprise for me. My only little criticisms and little nitpicks when it comes to the actual movie itself was the whole fourth wall breaking. It did feel like a lot of like Deadpoolisms that they were trying to take out of the movie itself. Third act, for me, I wasn't a big fan of like how everything came together, but overall I honestly did have a fun time with this movie. It really did surprise me that I enjoyed this more than I was expecting, and some of the sequences and the scenes that they had especially really was fun to watch. Yeah, when it comes to Birds of Prey, this movie for me, it's going as a B minus, but a B overall, just because it surprised me on how entertaining this was. And so next up is the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie. This for me, again, after the last Suicide Squad movie, which honestly I'm not going to spoil it, which we will definitely get into, I was a bit hesitant when it came to this one. And with James Gunn, I knew his track record, especially from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, so I was a bit more amped for this, I would say. But I was surprised at how great this movie was. Straight away from the opening sequence, when you've got like characters like Pete Davidson and his name escapes me, the one that plays Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy here, from them getting killed off to then having John Cena, who honestly blew me out the water with his performances here. You've got Idris Elba. I loved James Gunn's writing for this movie. Like the fact that you get to feel the emotions that you do for a shark character, for one that throws spots around Ratcatcher, to like James Gunn wrote these characters so well and so divided that you have such a great connection with these characters, which really did catch me off guard. And then you've got sort of like the villain of the movie, Starro, in there, which I never thought we would see in live action. Made it interesting, made it fun to watch. Seeing Rick Flag sort of get a redemption after what happened in the Suicide Squad movie from 2016, like in terms of the movie itself. So just seeing him have a great performance in this movie really was spectacular. And like I said, the action sequences, loved the interaction and the back and forth between John Cena and Idris Elba. I thought their chemistry was really fun to watch. So overall, you really had a fun time and you really cared about the characters. So this was such a night and day from the 2016 Suicide Squad movie. So yeah, when it comes to James Gunn, the Suicide Squad movie, this one also as well is going for me as a B. Better than Birds of Prey for me, so a B overall. And then the next one here, so this is kind of like a running theme when it comes to like DC movies, because with the Joker, again, not part of the DCEU timeline, but the Joker itself, I was skeptical when it comes to this movie as well. Didn't think they needed to make like an origin Joker movie, but from watching this, like watching it first time, kind of I was watching it but wasn't watching it because my wife was the one watching it, and I was just sort of watching it in the background because I just didn't think this was going to be a good movie. But then rewatching it again completely blew me away with how great the writing was. I think this movie made over $1 billion. I think it was either $1 billion or just over $1 billion. I'm not 100% sure, but with them making a Joker 2, like they really have high hopes and great belief in this project. And Joaquin Phoenix really brought this Joker to life. Just the dynamic mannerisms, his portrayal of the Joker. Granted, you've got the sort of thing that Sony is trying to do with their villains, so trying to make him of like why he became the way he did, but this wasn't really like a redemption arc for him. It was more of a, this is what's happening to him, this is what he had to deal with his whole life, to then how he turned and just became this villain, which I thought was a really nice, great way of writing. The most shocking thing here was killing Robert De Niro's character and then just anarchy coming in, which is you associate to the Joker. Anarchy and the Joker just go like hand in hand together. So I really like that. Curious to see what they're going to do with Joker 2 with the introduction of Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. So curious and excited about that. But when it comes to like the Joker itself, this movie, again, really surprised me of how great this movie was. Didn't think we needed a Joker movie, but I'm so glad we did get a Joker movie. So I really had a fun time with it. Again, Joaquin Phoenix, I think for me this is his best performance, best role he's done in his acting career, but that's just my opinion. So again, when it comes to the Joker, this for me is the first A movie. Really unexpected on how great it was, and it's going for an A just because I had low expectations for this movie and it just completely blew me away. So yeah, the Joker's going as an A. So next up here is we've got Joss Whedon's Justice League from 2017. I mean, there's nothing really more to say. This one's just going as an F for me here. Like, it's night and day when you see Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like, the comedy did not land, the cinematography, the lighting, the characters, and you could clearly see a difference as well. Like, I really don't know, like, it's frustrating for me because despite everything outside of like the project itself, when it comes to like Joss Whedon and all that stuff, you go from him making a brilliant movie in the Avengers and like the first proper superhero team up movie that we've ever had, to then this, I don't understand. Like, maybe he was trying too much to replicate the Avengers like for like, and it just didn't come across that way with this version of the Justice League. But it just was so bad, and it's crazy to think that like if it wasn't for like Zack Snyder's Justice League, if it wasn't for like everything going on to get Zack Snyder's Justice League, this would have been our Justice League superhero team up movie for the next God knows how long, because we don't know when James Gunn is going to have his DC Justice League in his DC slate in the next couple of years. So yeah, just really bad. Similar with Suicide Squad, so not the Suicide Squad, but Suicide Squad from 2016 with Will Smith in there, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, amongst other cast members. Now, I don't blame this movie for being as bad as it is because of like the background that happened with it, the rewrites or reshoots, just studios interfering with it. So I understand why it came across so bad, but it really did come across terrible. This movie just did not work for me. I never watched it when it first came out. I watched it like a couple of weeks ago in preparation for the tier ranking that I was going to do for this. So again, I don't blame people hating this movie. I I'm the same way. I get why it came across so bad because of all the studio interference here, which honestly, the movie had so much potential, but just didn't live up to it here. So with Suicide Squad, so not the Suicide Squad, but just Suicide Squad, comparing it to James Gunn's one, again, just night and day when it comes to it. Such a shame, because I honestly really did like Will Smith's character as Deadshot. I did like Captain Boomerang in there as well, so I just really missed opportunity. So when it comes to Suicide Squad, this one's going as an F, but for me it's better than Joss Whedon's Justice League, so it's going as an F. Let's say F plus for this one. So next up is we've got Wonder Woman here. This one I believe came out in 2017, and you basically got like the backstory of Diana and how she became Wonder Woman. Like, so you see her in Themyscira and like growing up to then like meeting a man and then going on this big adventure. I had such a fun time with this movie. Like the story arc that they went with for Wonder Woman and the characters that she got introduced, like the side characters or the backup characters, like her crew, they had this brilliant chemistry, and like the sequences that they went through, especially that third act. Granted, like the choreograph of the third act could have gone a bit better, but overall, like the storyline with these characters that you get introduced, the character arcs and the relationship that Diana has with Chris Pine's character as well, I thought was really well done and just brilliantly writing here. So it really caught me off guard with how great this movie is, especially with what happened to the sequel. When it comes to like Gal Gadot being Wonder Woman, first there was news story reporting that she's officially done as Wonder Woman, and then recently came out and mentioned that there are talks behind the scenes of her possibly continuing as Wonder Woman, so it's still up in the air. Hopefully we do get some more answers with that, but Gal Gadot did a fantastic performance playing Wonder Woman here. Again, loved what they did in the first act, giving you that introduction to her backstory, then her going on this adventure with Chris Pine's character. So everything about this just worked really well. So when it comes to Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie, this one for me honestly is going as an A. It really did surprise me with how good it was, with such an enjoyable cast and an enjoyable storyline and adventure that would go on with it here, especially with like the era that it was taking part in. I had such a fun time with it, so yeah, it's going as an A for me. Now, next up on the list here is we've got Shazam Fury of the Gods, the sequel to the Shazam movie, and I'll be completely honest, I was left really disappointed with this. Like, I just feel like this movie was all over the place. It completely missed the mark on what made the first Shazam movie so wholesome and so heartwarming, and that was family, which Zachary Levi even brought up in the movie itself, referencing to Fast and Furious. It's all about family, and they just didn't take advantage of that enough. You barely got to see like the kid versions of these characters in the whole movie. I think they appeared maybe in like 2-3 scenes, and the adult versions of them were sort of just like spread apart. Like you see them all working together in the first act in the beginning when they're saving people from the bridge. But then sort of like after that, like the characters were just sort of like sidelined. So you sort of focus on like Freddie and Mary and Zachary Levi's Billy Batson character here, but then the rest was sort of just like in the background there. But then you've got like Freddie losing his power, gaining it back. Billy's sort of character arc of like being so attached to everybody here, wanting everybody to like be as a unit, because he's so scared of like he's going to be turning 18 in a couple of months, so he doesn't want to like be kicked out of the system or be kicked out of his home. So like they sort of built on it a little bit, but then it wasn't really explored much. It was sort of just like in the background there. Rachel Zegler's character, which I might be butchering that name, so I apologize, she was one of the standout characters. The villains, the two sisters, like I just feel like that sort of the argument and the fight between the three sisters just sort of came out of random. Like they knew what they were going to do, and then randomly in the movie they just sort of switched their motives, which I just thought was baffling. And then you didn't get enough of villain versus heroes type of thing. So the family versus the three sisters, we barely got to see that. And then when it also comes to like the marketing too, so like they show the appearance of Wonder Woman in the trailers, like they spoil that because I feel like they were so desperate to like not wanting this to be a flop, so they spoil that for you. And then that was sort of just like a throwaway kind of thing. Like it just, everything, I don't know, just felt flat for me when it comes to this. I was kind of disappointed with the sequel. I was really excited because I really enjoyed the original Shazam movie, but was just left disappointed with this one. So honestly, when it comes to the Shazam Fury of the Gods, This one is going to go as like a C minus. There was some enjoyable moments, fun moments, but just overall like a big letdown for me here. And I'm including Peacemaker in this because the next one we've got here is the Peacemaker TV show. First of all, the opening credits alone just make this show worthwhile. But since we're including everything DCU EU related, wanted to throw the Peacemaker out there. James Gunn confirmed, and I mentioned this in the last week Weekly Entertainment News video, James Gunn has confirmed that season 2 of Peacemaker will continue straight after Superman New Legacy. So really pumped for that. Really surprised with the character arc and the storyline that James Gunn wrote for Peacemaker, especially after his unredeemable characters and unredeemable arc that he went through in the Suicide Squad movie. But James Gunn once again just knocked out of the park with this. You make him go from like this arsehole character to one that you really root for and really push through and like just want to see more of. Even that in that final episode when you've got Peacemaker just making fun of Aquaman and like the Flash, that little cameo there, and just like the dialogue that he had, especially with the vigilante, which I thought was really brilliant. Him with the big guy, I forgot, honestly his name is slipping from my mind, but that scene where the big guy rats on his dad, and then you have that sequence of John Cena just naming all these celebrities, just stroke of genius. Like this, it was such an entertaining, brilliant written show, and I really cannot wait to see what they're going to do next with season 2. Fun cast, fun writing, fun action sequences here, and once again a brilliant opening song for each episode. So when it comes to Peacemaker, this one for me is going as an A. I would have to say over Wonder Woman. I would say it's over Wonder Woman here. Not as good as like the Joker, but just a really fun action piece show. Now next up we've got here is Aquaman. Now with Aquaman's character, like Jason Momoa's character arc for Aquaman, it hasn't really been completed here. So I'm sort of just basing it off of his characters so far that we've seen, not basing it off the post-credit scene from The Flash that I've completely scrubbed it from my mind. But with this one, honestly, despite its flaws, despite its issues, action sequences that it did have, like the third act, was honestly really fun and entertaining for me here. The fight sequence with Black Manta, I just thought was fun to watch. Again, like some of the pacing in terms of the plot was a little bit dragged out and just didn't like the second act at all when you have Amber Heard's character and like Jason Momoa going around on this little adventure. Like I wasn't a fan of that. But when it comes to like the action sequences, I honestly did have a good time with it here. There was some stupid moments in this movie as well, but based on what this movie provided, it was fun, it was entertaining. It wasn't the best, it was okay, but it's still overall a fun time with it. But there were some heavy flaws with it. So yeah, when it comes to Aquaman, for me, it's going as like a C+. It's definitely better than Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and not as good as like the other movies above it. Again, it was a fun time. It gave me what I wanted, which was an excitable, enjoyable superhero that lives underwater, having these fight sequences underwater. But the pacing, the storyline, the plot, and some of the stupid scenes that they did have just sort of brought it down for me. So yeah, Aquaman is going as like a C, basing it on what I'm hearing with Aquaman 2, just not having high hopes for that as well. So yeah, it's going as a C. And the next up here is we've got Batman versus Superman. I mean, the biggest standout is that warehouse scene with Batman. Like, you just really have a great time with Ben Affleck. I really wish we got a solo Ben Affleck Batman movie. Just such a missed opportunity here, but he really did a great job playing Batman in this movie. My only issue with this was when it comes to Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor character. I just thought it was so over the top and ridiculous and silly, and it honestly just didn't work. A little bit of like some plot holes too, and sometimes like for me, I've not seen the director's cut, I've just seen like the theatre's original cut. So I hear that the director's cut is a lot better here, so I haven't seen that one just yet. But based on this one, like the pacing was a little bit dragged out for me here. It was a little bit too long just to get to the part that we wanted to see, which was Batman versus Superman. But when they finally got it, I had such a fun time. Like that third act between Batman versus Superman, them fighting one another, it was really suspenseful, really entertaining, really brilliant to watch. And then when they had to team up along with Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman being introduced into the DCU, I really had a fun time with that. So Batman vs Superman overall, while there are some glaring issues, like I said, with Lex Luthor's portrayal and how we got to where we got to have Batman versus Superman, some glaring issues, But overall, a really fun movie. So yeah, when it comes to Batman vs Superman, this one for me is going as a B, the lowest B option in the tier ranking here. So there's no other movie that's going to be below Batman versus Superman in the B category. So yeah, B. And so the next one we've got on the list here is Black Adam. And this one for me, it was sort of like the generic superhero movie with Dwayne The Rock Johnson playing the same role he always plays in the movies. I did have a fun time with it. I thought it was a fun movie with the introduction to the JSA and having Pierce Brosnan play Dr. Fate, having Hawkman in there, having these characters be part of the movie. I thought was really fun, but based on like everything so far that that has happened after Black Adam came out, so for example like the post-credit scene with Henry Cavill, The Rock just leaving the role as Black Adam, it sort of just like brought the movie down a little bit for me. Again, this is sort of like the generic superhero movie with The Rock, and I wanted more from it. I was really pumped to see what they were going to do with it, and like I said, there was some fun elements with it here. The fight sequences was really fun. The Black Adam versus the Justice Society of America was really entertaining and really fun to watch, especially seeing everybody use their powers and different powers and everything. So it was fun. It was okay, enjoyable enough. But yeah, when it comes to Black Adam, this one is going as like a C plus. Definitely the better of the C categories, but just a C overall. Now the next one we've got on the list here is the Man of Steel, the one that kickstarted the whole DCEU movie. I'll be completely honest here, like this movie, first time watching it, when I watched it in the cinema, I wasn't a fan of it, but then I've seen it a few more times, and every single time I just love it more and more. Like I really had a fun time with this. Henry Cavill really killed it as Clark Kent and Superman here, and this movie I just feel like isn't as appreciated as much as it should be because of like how it was started and how it was like how it was perceived. But like as I watch it over and over again, like I said, such a fun time with this movie. It was so entertaining watching Clark Kent, watching Henry Cavill play Clark Kent, to then having the introduction to Zod, and then that whole fight sequence with Superman versus Zod was just incredible. Like the amount of destruction that they caused, the amount of deaths I'm presuming was done because of this, it was just so fun. Like you have that part of like with Superman telling Lois Lane about what the S stands for, him with the army as well. I just thought was really brilliantly written in terms of like his character, especially when he sees like his dad sacrificing himself, forcing him to not use his power. I really like that little writing there, that nice touch. And just overall, it really was improved over time. Zack Snyder did a fantastic job with this. While I wish the costume might have been slightly better, of course, seeing the red underwear, the classic Superman outfit, like for me growing up with Christopher Reeve as Superman with the red underpants, I wanted like a more brighter costume with Henry Cavill's Superman, but that's just small little nitpicks. But overall, the more I watch it, the more I enjoy it. So with Zack Snyder's Man of Steel movie, this one is definitely going as an A, probably the best A movie that they have done in the DCU. So better than Joker, Peacemaker and Wonder Woman. A brilliantly written Superman movie that I had such a fun time with eventually, because like I said, I wasn't a fan of it first time watching, but it really has grown on me. So yeah, Man of Steel is going as an A. And then next up on the list here is we've got Shazam, the first Shazam movie. So like I said in the Shazam Fury of the Gods, brilliant element of this movie was the family aspect. You've got Billy Batson and Freddy, and like Billy Batson, really surprised with how dark of a tone that they took with like what he had to go through and like the trauma, losing his mum, losing his family, everything that he had to go through, to then having that great family comedy element with him finally getting the Shazam powers and what he did with it. It was really fun. Like Freddy and Billy bouncing off one another was just a stroke of genius here. And then that heartfelt moment of like him giving the powers to all the family members was really nice and really well done. This is what was missing in the part 2, the sequel, the Shazam Fury of the Gods, was that family element, that part that you have in this movie, which I really thought they brought it up here, and I just loved everything about this. Like the characters were really enjoyable, you got attached to it here. I actually really enjoyed the villain of the movie. I liked Zachary Levi's character as Shazam, as he's like going through the motion of becoming this superhero and learning what it means to be the superhero, which sort of wasn't really explored in the Fury of the Gods movie. So I really was surprised with how good this movie was and how heartfelt and brilliant it was. So when it comes to Shazam, for me, this one is definitely going as like a B. a B plus because of honestly how surprised I was with how much I enjoyed this movie. So definitely a B in terms of the tier ranking here. Now for the next movie we've got here is Wonder Woman 1984, the sequel to the Wonder Woman movie. I mean, what can you say about this? This was so poorly written. Like, you go from like a brilliant writing of Diana in the first Wonder Woman movie, especially with her and Chris Pine's character and like the loss and the heartfelt moments that you had in that, to then just this. And like, Pedro Pascal honestly did a brilliant job playing the villain in this movie here, but it was just like a grounded approach with like, I really don't like the writing that they went with for Wonder Woman. Even the cat character here, I forgot her name, she was in Bridesmaid, but her name just completely slips my mind. I thought her writing was just so generic, and it was just like a very bland sequel to Wonder Woman. Just wasn't that enjoyable and wasn't that entertaining. I really just wasn't a fan of it here, and it just, having Chris Pine come back, it just really sort of like dug this movie deeper in its grave. It wasn't like a fun sequel to me. I've only watched it once, so it hasn't got that rewatchable factor. It hasn't got the storyline character arcs that you want from Wonder Woman and the other characters here. Pedro Pascal, like I said, did a really fun, fantastic job with it. I enjoyed his performance despite what he was given, but like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of this movie. So for this one, it's going for me as the first and only category D. And then next up for me is probably one of the most fun times I've had with a movie. And this is Zack Snyder's Justice League movie. I've seen it twice now, and like I said, I had a really, really fun time with this. It's just such a night and day difference when it comes to Joss Whedon's Justice League to this one. The writing in this was just done so well. Yes, there are some flaws with this movie, of course, but you have more great elements and brilliant writing and brilliant moments in this movie than you have nitpicks and flaws with this movie. The chemistry with each of the characters I thought was done really well. The bringing back of Henry Cavill as Superman, the third act with Darkseid just was really great. And even like every character had their moments. So you've got Ray Fisher's Cyborg and his like writing with his like character arc, Barry Allen's Flash, his moments as well with what he's able to do in the third act. Ben Affleck's Batman just really was brought to life and really did a fantastic job with this. And just the other cast members like Wonder Woman and Aquaman, Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot really energized this movie. So it was just so brilliant and so fun, and I'm so happy that we really did get to see this movie, because I honestly thought we were never going to see this movie. So I'm just so happy we finally got this released and we were able to see it. So for me, Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, is definitely going as an A triple plus. One of the best in DCEU's universe timeline, the best DCEU movie, or fun, entertaining, brilliant first, second, third act. Every character got a moment to shine. Every character got a perfect writing of their story arc and their character arc. I just had a fun time, loved everything about this. So rewatchable. So yeah, I wish we could have seen more of it, like what they were going to do, but I really had a fun time just seeing a great Justice League movie here. So yeah, going as an A triple plus. And then last but not least, I wanted to keep this last because it just recently came out. With Ezra Miller's controversy outside of this movie aside, I'm not going to bring that up or even talk about it. I had a fun time with this movie, but it just wasn't enough. Like, the fun time just wasn't enough for me to really bring this movie to like the best movie of all time, because I went into this movie with the hype saying that this is the best comic book movie of all time, this is the best DC movie ever made. Like, I'm seeing all of these praises and high praise. Tom Cruise even calling Andy Muschietti, saying how brilliant this movie was. So like, this is my expectation going into this movie after reading all of that. Coming out of this movie, I don't understand the hype for this movie when it comes to like best comic book movie, best DC movie, because it certainly is not. There are a lot of glaring problems with it. Most specifically is the CGI. Like, for example, the first action sequence that you get when you sort of get like a episode of the Justice League, when you've got Superman going and doing his thing, you get a brief cameo of Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman here, but you've got Ben Affleck. Again, so fun and great to see Ben Affleck as Batman in broad daylight fighting crime. The Flash confirming himself as the janitor. You've got him, and then like I said, Wonder Woman comes back to like save both of them here. So you sort of get like that little episode of Justice League. You see them. They basically give you what we could have had if DCU just didn't mess up, if Warner Brothers didn't mess up. So you sort of got like a little bit of glimpse of that, which I had an amazing time with watching this opening sequence, watching this first action sequence here. But the CGI really took me out of it here. Like the close up to like Ben Affleck's face when he was on the motorbike just looked so bad. The babies dropping from the hospital looked honestly so terrible. The running sequence with the Flash, and like Andy Muschietti has come out, said that this is what Barry Allen sees when he's running, which I don't buy that. I don't think that's a great excuse. Even like Barry Allen's running, which they played a joke on it when he lost his powers later on in the movie, where he's sort of like gliding and doing his stupid arm movements while he's running. It really took me out of this movie here. And then you've got just the cameos that looked really CGI heavy. Like you've got Christopher Reeves appearing in a cameo here, which I just don't understand why they just didn't use archive footage or reused footage from his Superman movies to appear, but then rather use CGI. You've got Adam West appearing as CGI, Nicolas Cage, which again, I'm not a huge Nicolas Cage fan, but it was really great seeing him as Superman there, but it was again CGI. It just didn't look that great, and the Speed Force didn't come across great, so the CGI just really felt flat for me. The third act too, with like Zod, just felt very underwhelming. Like I thought he was going to be a bigger presence in this movie, but he was sort of just like just there, and it wasn't like done enough. You got the little version of Dark Flash with Barry Allen there, but he was introduced and then sort of killed off within 5 minutes. So it was just like this movie was just all over the place and just didn't want to stick to like what they wanted to do. I loved the writing for like Ezra Miller's Barry Allen character, and this is just specifically for his Barry Allen character, like our Barry Allen, not the younger version of him. Like that younger version was just getting annoying to me at some points as well. But what they did with Barry Allen and like the emotional aspects too, when it comes to like him sacrificing his mother, having to like realize that saving his mother isn't the answer, like they really did some great writing with him, and Ezra Miller did a great performance in the Flash movie, but it just wasn't enough there. Michael Keaton, a huge Batman fan with Michael Keaton, like I said, Batman Returns was my introduction to Bruce Wayne and Batman, and so Michael Keaton, seeing him on screen was the best part for me in this movie. I only wish we got to see him using his Batmobile, because they sort of unveil it, but then it was just never used. But you just see him using all his old gadgets, which I thought was so fun and great to see. Just overall, this movie itself just sort of was a letdown. When it comes to like the actual future of Barry Allen with Ezra Miller, I don't think they're going to continue using him, because in the movie he is able to like switch the cans of tomatoes from the bottom shelf to the top shelf, exonerating his father. He gets a call from Bruce Wayne, and that Bruce Wayne turns out to be George Clooney, which honestly I was completely shocked. Like I'm still eating my popcorn at this point with this movie, and popcorn just fell out of my mouth. My jaw dropped when I saw George Clooney appearing on screen. Basically with Barry Allen, his life lesson and his things that he had to go through in this movie, learning like that you can't keep resetting the timeline or running back in time to fix your mistakes. So basically him going through that character arc, him being stuck in like George Clooney's Batman, that's why I don't think that he's going to continue playing the Flash. I think they are definitely going to recast. Their excuse is going to be that Ezra Miller's Flash is stuck in this world, James Gunn's new DC writing and DC's future. They're definitely going to have a new character playing Flash, playing Barry Allen, which I think it is a good choice, and I think it is the right decision. But overall, when it comes to the Flash itself, so for me, this one, just because of everything that went through with this movie, I wanted to like it, but it's just going as like a B-. I was just left disappointed. Like it could have been so good, but I just think like even that ending too, like because this is sort of like the send-off to the DCEU, I thought it could have just been done a lot better, could have been done better movie. So yeah, it's going as like a B for me here. Still think that the other 4 movies are slightly better when it comes to like the Flash movie in terms of the B category, but overall this is my list for the DCEU timeline here. So before we reset to James Gunn's new future of the DCU,
not impressed.
Overall, a frustrating 10 years when it comes to like Warner Brothers and DCEU. Like they just had so much potential, but just really squandered so many opportunities with DC. A frustrating time to be a DC fan. But this is my list here. Please let me know yours in the comment section down below. First of all, where you would rank them, what you think of my list. Do you think I'm completely wrong with certain movies? I know that people are going to have different opinions when it comes to like the choices there. Some people are going to absolutely hate this list. Some people might like this list, but Please let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comment section down below. And again, if you are a fan of these tier ranking videos, I'm going to do plenty of them coming up here. Indiana Jones tier ranking, Mission Impossible tier ranking, amongst other things, which I won't give away just yet, but I have got a few ideas in mind. So definitely subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on that. Don't forget, Twitter link is in the description down below. Go ahead, follow me there so you know whenever I do post. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. This is YK Reviews. Peace.